can work our way to our seats, please. I have a couple of housekeeping announcements before we get into our final speaker of the day. If you can please return your full name badge, including your lanyard, to the registration table, you will be entered for a drawing at the end of today's conference, so please be sure to return your full name badge, everything, to the registration table. Also, don't forget to take an opportunity to look at our virtual on-demand class done by Darcy Luma, as well as Jill and David Corey. This will allow you to earn 6.5 PDUs. And that'll be offered here today. Finally, this year the PDUs are self-claimed, so you will have to take the codes from this conference and enter them into the PMI portal, which will be available until July 25th. So you got a whole month to take care of this. It'll be very easy. Now, before I get into introducing our final presenter for the day, I have a couple of questions for you. Are you overwhelmed by all the things that are swirling around in our world today? Show of hands. Anybody overwhelmed? A little bit overwhelmed? Kind of freaked out? I am, definitely. Would you like to have less frustrating conversations? Are there topics or language that just make you so nervous you don't even want to go there? Okay. If you answered yes, you are in the right place. If you answered no, you may be in the land of denial. Our speaker today has been stirring up difficult conversations for over a decade. She has performed as a stand-up comic, speaking on stage about, she's a diversity expert, moving teams from abstract to action. She is a member of the National Speakers Association and is a certified speaking professional. Fewer than 10% of professional speakers have that designation, which is pretty impressive. When she is not traveling the country, she is spoiling her beautiful pug lab. She just showed me pictures. I'm a fellow pug person, so I'm totally in love. She is spoiling Leo and loving on her other two. And she is listening to Johnny Cash cover bands. Here to answer every question we have about business leadership etiquette in the 21st century, as well as all those difficult topics that we just don't want to touch, is our fabulous speaker from Eureka, California, keynote speaker, fabulous, funny lady, thank you, would be vegan except for those chocolate peanut butter milkshakes that exist. She can't give up that, neither can she give up the cheese. Please join me in welcoming Jessica.
Thank you. I know it has been said all day long, but it is super fun to be with people's lower faces. Just the lower face. I haven't seen it in a while. It's great. What is fascinating about being the last speaker of the day is that I get the opportunity to listen to everybody else, learn stuff all day long, talk to you all day long, and now I get to engage with the people coming in from the live stream. Hi, I'm the one that looks like a tropical fish that they may or may not have told you about. What I would like to do is a couple things in the reverse order. So number one, yes, I have a book, and yes, I have some outside, but some people are not here, and some people aren't prepared for such things. So what I would like to do is a double whammy offer. And the double whammy offer is through goodenoughnow.book.com, or those of you at the table. Any books, audiobook, ebook, or paperback that I sell today, 50% of the proceeds I'm going to donate to Dress for Success, the Denver chapter. Thank you. What's fascinating is that when I was in college in the 1900s, I started a Dress for Success chapter in a little bitty town in Arkansas. And within the first month, we'd served 100 women. Within the second month, we'd served 2,000 women. It's a really phenomenal organization, and I just said camera. Amara did a really great job of explaining like volunteers, treasure, talent, etc. But it is a phenomenal organization, and I'd highly recommend y'all doing this, especially as people are starting to come back together. It's a great way to volunteer. It's a great team builder. So 50% today, knock it out. I'll send money, and I get to use the little Cardi B thing. I'm kind of excited. Okay, so with that stated, I also have a pretty big promise for everyone, and that is that I'm going to help you have the conversation that is currently in the drafts of your email. Maybe not even in a folder that says WTF, but it says a folder like grocery list, just in case somebody's digging around in your Outlook, right? That conversation. I want you to get your money's worth. So what I would like for you to do, and for the at-home audience or people even watching the recording at a different time, I want to give you a texting number. This does not subscribe you to a thing. I'm not that fancy. So the tech person's already spoken. I'm more of the legal pad post-it kind, right? So the texting number is 202-670-4262. Hold on, my pen didn't work. I still know the number. So 202-670-4262. While we're here today, you can text me anything you want. While you're watching the recording, same. What I want you to do is to utilize this opportunity to have the damn conversation. Now, I know, is that a cuss word? In my world, that's not even a cuss word, and it's late, and I am not wearing secure undergarment items. I compromised with lady shoes and a bra. So I forgot the cussing filter. What I want you to be able to do is to pick the frustrating conversation with that person, that topic. Maybe they work with you. Maybe you're married to them. Maybe you've been sheltering in place with them and you're very excited about the opening up just so because you were dangerously close to kicking them out, right? Maybe they're about to launch and you birthed them or adopted them. There's some questions happening, right? We are all very, very frustrated by something and someone. And what I want to do is the how. So we've had amazing speakers all day long today, and each time during the Q&A, there's been kind of a, yeah, but have you met my boss? Like, how do I do this? So that is what I'm going to tell you today. I'm going to tell you how. But what I'm going to tell you how is the same how for all of the conversations that you really don't want to have. Keeping it in drafts is not helping. What's amazing is that, like, I'm a Southerner, and so, like, if you can't say it on the front porch, you just say it on the back porch. But that's not, people not from the South don't know that. But drafting an email and keeping it in drafts and not sending it is also a form of communication. Because when you're around that person, they know you are not saying something. They know that. They can feel it. They don't know. Maybe they know what it is. Maybe they don't know what it is. If it's not somebody frustrating in real life, I want you to think about social media. Somebody shows up in your algorithms that you have figured out how to unfollow because you are so passive-aggressive about the possibility of that confrontation, you haven't unfriended them because then they would know. It's not just me, please. I know I have a therapist, I'm aware, but like this is other people too. If it's not your social media feeds on a personal level, it's probably someone that will be at the next family function. I find that this person always sits next to the gravy boat because then you have to choose between carbs or engagement. These are struggles I deal with. So that is me doing everything backwards. That's your job. I want you to think of this person. You're not going to tell anybody. You're not going to have to share it. You don't have to text it to me. We're not going to role play anything because I want you to like me and no one likes role play. I just want you to think of who that is, and then I'm going to walk you through a process. So if you are interested, you can, those of you that have already purchased books, it's page 192. You're welcome. You are welcome to download all the handouts for free. If you're like, I don't really want to buy, I don't have time, I'm not gonna read it. Great. So the handouts are at goodenoughnow.com/freebies. And I gave the one-page handout connected to this, so I think it's floating somewhere in the app. I don't really know how apps work, so I'm gonna trust that it's floating in the outer net. Shout out. Right. It's in the outer net for your availability. Now, now I'm going to start back at the beginning, because you have to like narrow down which frustrating person and topic you have going to use for this exercise, because some of you are like, do you have time? Because I have quite the list. So we're just going to pick one, but I would suggest the one. Y'all, you know who I'm talking about, right? Like, oh, this one will be good because she's probably lying and going to ask me questions and I can publicly talk. No, don't do that one, and I'm not going to ask you questions. I do recommend, realistically, who you should be picking should be someone that you likely will engage in a conversation with. So, like, they should probably be alive, right? Some people cheat and they're like, oh, I'll go to my great aunt. That's cheating because she's not going to listen to you anyway. So for me, it would be Dick Cheney. I know you might be surprised by this, but I am a very liberal person. Anyone? Shocked. Yes, I know. So it is a very, very slim chance that I will ever be alone with Dick Cheney. Largely because of like restraining orders and like security guards, and they can kind of see me coming, right? So it's probably not going to happen. So I don't need to pick Dick Cheney because it's not going to happen. So I'm also cheating myself if I pick somebody like that, because it's unlikely to occur. So now you're filtering through your people, okay? Erase the equivalents of your Dick Cheneys. But you also don't want to pick your best friend, because I don't know about you, I have multiple best friends. They don't know about this. But this is also why weddings are so terrifying, because all your best friends, each one is a vault from a different part of your life, and they are on a dance floor and alcohol is being served. That is not a relaxing event. So that's why I eloped in the Elvis Chapel. No. Your best friend likes you anyway. So why are you going to practice this with them? Now, I'm not saying that you don't have the need to have a frustrating conversation, but if it's not the right time, it's just going to bounce off your friend and you're going to go out for pizza. Let's reverse it if you don't believe me. If your best friend is dating somebody that you don't approve of, are you right? This is the quietest I've ever heard the answer. No. If you don't approve of the person that they are dating of course you're right. Sometimes they are actually dating the same person. I know it's going to be shocking, but I am way older than you think I am. And I am now at the stage where my friends have gotten divorced more than once. And some of my friends are marrying the same people again. There's a clause, I think. You don't get wedding presents if you marry the same person more than twice. There are no more blenders for you. Like, figure that one out. I know that they have a problem and that they just keep dating, sometimes literally the same person, but I like them anyway, right? I will be there through Michael Part 8 again, right? Like, I will do this. Don't pick that person either. Pick somebody floating in the middle of those two things. Is that helpful parameters? Okay, now the sorting hat begins. So you're in charge, who it is, what's the topic, doesn't matter. I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to tell you a story. The reason why I'm going to tell you the story is that it ties together most of what has happened today, other than just being so elated to see the bottom half of people's faces. So burnout can be a sensitive topic. So my burnout story is that I have worked as a diversity educator for the last 2.5 decades or so. I say 1 decade in the intro because everyone thinks it's a typo because they think I'm 12, so I couldn't possibly have had a professional job since the 1900s. It works out great, and I don't have to Photoshop my headshots very good. So, great. As a diversity educator, I started burning out because even though I think I'm fairly good at my job and I'm pretty funny and I can tell jokes about all the topics people are scared to talk about, I wasn't noticing a difference. I wasn't noticing any change. Nobody was actually asking me any different questions year after year, after 5 years, after 10 years, after holy crap, that was a whole nother decade. Like, nothing was changing. So I was like, well, I gotta quit. So like racism, sexism, pay inequity, ableism, xenophobia, all of these things are still exactly where they were in the 1900s when I started. Now, for like liberal white women who went to liberal white women's school on how to be good liberal white women, we are usually shocked when we find out that things have not changed that much, but it's mostly related that we just read a pamphlet. We just found out about a problem that we don't really know that much about. So it's new to us. But people have been saying this stuff for decades, and sometimes, occasionally, we start listening. So in my burnout, I was like, I'm not even burnt, I'm a crouton. I am the crouton that's burnt piece of heel with maybe they were seeds, but now, do you know, that was me. So I was like, well, I gotta get a job because I gotta pay bills, I gotta figure something out. So number one, I realized I have no monetizable skills other than jokes and stories. Okay, so I tried bartending. So then I got sober, so that didn't work anymore. The only talent that I have, I'm not really sure is this resume quality, please let me know, but I can fold a fitted sheet. I mean, you're welcome. Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. I will clean out your linen closet, it's totally fine. I know the cheerleader move, no, it's quite easy. There's 4 corners, you make it a square, it's not hard, but shh. I will tell you, this is hard for my ego, my most popular video is a video of me teaching people how to fold a fitted sheet. Like, hello, but it's a marketing strategy, so it works. So if you're interested, it's on YouTube. It's called Jessica Pettitt Folds a Fitted Sheet. It's tricky, super tricky. If you do subscribe to my newsletter or something, you'll automatically get that video because that's all anybody ever wants anyway, so there's that. So, and then, thanks to cobots, humans don't even fold fitted sheets anymore, so that's not even monetizable because now you just magically buy them and they're like, bling, because somebody with a ruler. I'm a triple Virgo and cannot make it ever fit back into the sack that I bought it in. Do you know what a triple Virgo means? It means I'm right, just so you know. It means my sun, my moon, and my favorite pizza topping is a Virgo. That's what that means. So my comfort zone is Excel, but not the math part, just the alphabetizing color coding part. Is that helpful? Okay, you're now my therapist. I owe you a copay. Great. Okay, so I don't have any other monetizable skills. The one thing that is an impressive applause warrant getting thing is not monetizable. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to keep telling jokes and stories about stuff that nobody wants to talk about, and I don't want to. That's a part of burnout that I don't think came out today. Is it? No. Camera off. Right? Some of us are not new to working at home. You've been doing this all along. You're like, don't tell them my secrets. But you're like, oh, sorry, the phone's disconnecting. Bad cell service. What episode was I on? Right? We didn't know this. We're learning, right? I didn't want to do anything else, and I didn't want to do the thing that I could do. How do you solve that burnout? So, the way that my life works, I live in a little bitty teeny tiny town in California, so I still had 4 or 5 more stops when I had this big revelation that I don't want to anymore. I still had 4 cities to go to in the same suitcase, right? So, I think this is basically what those 4 things look like. Right? That was those 4 visits. I wanted to quit, but I had contracts and bills and no plan. Virgo. So I started listening to my audience members, asking the same damn questions that they asked all the time, but I was listening differently because I was listening through, no! I mean, please repeat that, right? And as I was listening, what I realized was they were sharing with me conversations that mattered to them that they weren't having. They were sharing with me why it mattered. They were sharing with me why they couldn't do it, but they were sharing with me that they really couldn't just let it go. Because it mattered, but they didn't know how, and they didn't know why, and there it is. It's like a zombie conversation. So I started paying attention because I can't tell them, right? But I'm like, room service, shut up, roll it out. What are you asking me? Let's go. That was a very large part of where I was at the moment. When I started listening to them, I started hearing a pattern that was really an excuse. because they didn't feel like they knew exactly what to say. They didn't know how to be perfect and like nail the conversation and win it. That one usually comes with replaying a transcript. Perhaps this occurs in the shower. It's not just me. Brian Baxter broke up with me in 8th grade. I didn't know we were dating. We rode bikes together. I mean, I guess that's a commitment. What? I have replayed for 8th grade was a minute ago. I have replayed that moment in my head because it was a crucible moment in my life. I think it was the first time I had ever actually felt humiliated because I didn't know we were dating, let alone we are now no longer dating. And in 8th grade science class, that's a lot, right? I had just discovered blue eyeshadow and had a spiral perm and a 24-hour headgear. I was so preoccupied, I missed having a boyfriend. It was mortifying. So I'm old and have replayed that conversation so many times until I win the conversation. Like Brian Baxter's, lines never change. Don't like cancel culture him or whatever. He was also in 8th grade, right? Like Grace. I have changed what I say. I change how I stand. I change how I like sarcasmo back at him. But I change that I start the conversation knowing that we were dating. That's a big switch, right? So I do that because it was humiliating to me, and I want to fix that feeling in me. It has nothing to do with Brian, right? At all. It took me years to remember that dude's last name. And the only reason why, not only did we have matching bicycles, but we were both the gingers in school. You may not know this, but this is hair dye. I am not the only one in the room who uses hair dye. I just might be the only one who chose to look like a male betta fish. Why I think this is important is that what cured my burnout is that I realized that there is something in common between where I was standing in that exact moment and everything I deeply care about that I wasn't noticing change. And that is that conversations matter, and they are not winnable. This is not about perfection. Conversations that matter are about doing the best you can with what you already got some of the time. I will repeat that. That is a very low bar. Do the best you can. I mean, you know, the best I could. Some of the time, meaning like not 24/7, because then you won't have any friends and no one will talk to you, with all of the experience and skills you already have. Do the best you can with what you got some of the time. That's it. You're welcome. I will leave now. If we did that, I would not have a job. What's more important is that because I know if we did do that, I'm no longer burnt out. When I realized that what was preventing people from having conversations that matter was because their life, much like my life, had prepared me, had allowed me to feel safe through my judgments and assumptions, and my judgments and assumptions that I learned by surviving my crucible moments is exactly why I have no idea how to deal with your junk. Because your junk was also taught to you out of survival. So what this really boils down to, hopefully by now you've picked somebody, is just, I want you to listen. We've had some conversations about your internal voices, intuition. I'm not a woo-woo person. Anyone shocked by that? So the heart voice that Karen talked about, right? I call it the voices in your head. Some of you, are you familiar with the voices in your head? Some of you are like, I don't know what she's talking about. I don't have any voices in my head. You didn't say that out loud. This voice up here just listen to it when I say this. As you are sorting through the frustrating people, as you're sorting through the frustrating topics, okay? You've picked one or more. Some of you are unicorns and are like, no one. Now you're frustrating to me, so I'll just add you to the list. The person that you are frustrated by, their life has taught them that that is how to show up. Did you hear the voice in your head go, I don't like that? Their life taught them that this is how they're supposed to show up. Does that make them right? No. No. I am a trained expert. If you're a person that you pick, they're wrong. Do you feel better now? But their life taught them that that's how to be prepared and that's how to feel safe. That doesn't mean that it's right. And you and me, when there is a conversation on the line that really matters, I'm using my judgments and assumptions because my life has taught me that's what I need to do to feel safe and prepared. And then what usually happens is I come back here, all safe and prepared, and wait. Because they're going to come to me. They didn't come yet. Well, I'll just draft something. I can't save that on my computer. I'll move that to a thumb drive. They're not here yet. That's what happens. That is why I have job security and tell people that I'm a diversity educator, because what has happened is that our lives have taught us how to feel safe and prepared, and then we go back into our little turtle hole where we feel safe and prepared and wait for those that we are possibly questioning whether or not we are prepared for them or we can feel safe around them, that they are going to then come to my completely uninviting turtle hole, and until they show up there, it's their problem. Stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. Doesn't work. What ends up happening is you are constantly peeking out of your turtle hole trying to find out if they're coming yet. That is called setting yourself up for disappointment. What would happen if you stumble out of your little turtle hole? I have no idea why I'm calling this a turtle hole. I was on vacation in Montana. I saw 0 turtles. Maybe buffaloes live in a hole. I don't know. Anyway, if you came out of your little turtle hole because you want to have the conversation because it matters, your posture is going to be different. You're not waiting to receive their conversation anymore, because it's not about winning it. It's not about being perfect. It's about having a conversation that you believe matters to you. And your bar isn't winning. It's to do the best you can with what you got some of the time. Literally, that is what when I say good enough now, that's it. I didn't say like awesomest, always, forever, gold medals all the time. I need a nap even thinking about that. But like, good, what you got's enough, and maybe now. Okay. We talked a little bit more about the burnout and like trying to engage, whatever. Trying is exhausting. Like, I don't think that's an English mistake that trying can be trying. Any of you work in healthcare? Patients are a patient experience, right? Somebody had a sense of humor. It's all I'm saying. So if trying to have this conversation is already too much, what would happen if today, or those of you watching the recording, today, you're recording, today you decide you're going to try to have this conversation. Now, this is not going to end with you like stepping outside and calling the person, right? Because some of you never go and do that. Okay, fine. But you'd at least hopefully shift how you're role-playing having this conversation. Get it out of drafts, because you're holding on to this conversation. You're not doing it. And that is a form of communication with that person. So they're like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with her, but every time she comes, she's like bringing an invisible backpack of like drama with her. I can smell it. It's like a fart, but like she didn't eat anything, so I don't know what's going on, right? Like that's conversation that you're responsible for. So just have the conversation. That's it. So how are we going to do this? Okay, was that enough story time? Did everybody pick their person? Great. Step 1, you're going to decide to make a better connection. Notice, this is not about a conversation. This is just, you're just decided. This is not COVID specific, but I just want you to think about, you made a joke about the first time you deposited a check on the phone, and everyone was like, oh my God, I totally, because then, do you remember, like, do I really throw this away? I'm gonna wait for my statement to show up and make sure that it's there, and then you cleaned off your desk and you're like, shit, I recycled that. I hope it shows up, and then you forget about it, right? But like, at least that was me, that's my bookkeeping system. So, I want to encourage you that people need connection. They needed it before COVID. They need it now. I am not a touchy person. My favorite part of COVID is that no one had to hug me and I did not have to hug anyone. My least favorite part is that I sheltered in place with my husband in 1,200 square feet with 3 80-pound dogs when I used to travel 300 days a year. And evidently, there's no room service in quarantine. What? It takes a lot of food to keep in this shape. Where is room service? It's my biggest regret. Okay. Connection this has now happened 3 times today, but people have asked to shake my hand. Those are the first 3 hands I have shook in 17 months. I didn't know I missed it until it was like all tingly. This is great, right? And I didn't have to do stuff and wash my hands and do all that. I just got to shake a hand and have a conversation, right? Like I've been reeling on that for hours now. I remember it was you. Anyway, so you were the first one. It's very exciting. It's okay. You also paid for the Uber. Good. Okay. So, see? Even Stevens. Right. This morning we met at Starbucks and she's like, are you back? She goes like, are you vaccinated? Yes, I am. Give me a hug. I'm going to hug you. There wasn't a lot of like multiple choice options. It was like 7 a.m. and I'm just like, right? You know that hug where you're like, no arms. Hope it was good for you. That got me through college. Anyway. Better connections is your goal. Notice there is not even a W for win inside of better connections. You're going to decide that the outcome of this thing is a better connection. Now, side note, you picked your person. You're already intimidated, and where is the first step? Okay, so you're not going to start with that person. But you're going to like take notes and be thinking about that person, and then most of you will completely forget I exist in about half an hour, which is totally fine, because that's how our memories work. But what I want you to think is the next time you go through a drive-through, this is the best place to practice this, because you are not entitled a conversation partner here. So if it is the person, and you're going to start, like here's my work, first off, showing up to an awkward conversation with a handout, not a good look. Just skip that all together. You need to practice your posture. This is not a guaranteed conversation situation where that person is going to play along. Okay, you are probably in your car, going through, navigating the little cement things, and you get to a little squawky box, and the squawky box says, and you're like, venti, soy chai, no water, no foam. That is basically a transactional conversation. That is how we often communicate. So as weird as it may seem, this is literally how most of your conversations work anyway, because you don't actually care what they've said. You're just filling times until the elevator door opens up. So I challenge you, squawky box, first thing you're going to do as you're rolling down your window is you're going to decide, I am going to try to increase the amount of connection in the universe with the voice on the other side of the squawky box. You know you're going to come around the building and that voice is not going to match that person's voice, right? You don't even get to see the ether voice from the squawky box. You are not entitled a conversation partner. This is your work. We've been talking about self-learning all day, and you're like, oh, I should get an MBA. I signed up for a 1-year MBA class in the middle of COVID, and I'm still sober. No applause to that. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, I had to cook and study with the internet. What? Okay, you're going to decide you're going to increase the connection. Squawky Box has no idea you're doing this because this is about you. The first step, what if at the end of this, there is a better connection between me and somebody on the planet? That's your goal. Not winning. Not embarrassing Brian Baxter back. Good? Next step, you're going to decide how are you going to do this. And this is when you pick a particular conversation methodology. Is it an email? Is it a text? Is it on social media? Is it a squawky box? Is it in person? If the person's no longer alive, I have much more helpful conversations with my parents now that they're both dead than when they were available because I had to schedule an appointment with them. According to my therapist, I was raised by an HR department. They're much more available now. There's no correlation between that and the no hugs, by the way. That's a sinker inner one. Okay. So you're going to decide this conversation is how I'm going to do the better connection part. You're going to decide, I'm going to have an intentional conversation. That's the tool, but that's step 2. Step 1 is that you're trying to increase connection, not win. Clear? So after you decide you're going to have a conversation, if you are an external communicator like me, bless you, what often happens is you've done 2 steps, so now you're totally prepared to win this conversation, and you don't listen to the rest of the flow chart, so I'm just going to invite you, you haven't spoken yet, okay? 0 words have transpired out of your face or your thumbs. Better connection, intentional conversation. The next step is you're going to listen to them as if they are wise. Now, I just met CK today, so I'm going on a limb, but I think we have this in common. And that is that we are part dolphin. What I mean by this is that I am an external communicator that uses words and casual conversation like sonar to find out what's going on in the room. But that doesn't feel like talking to me. Right? That's me just in all this entering a space. If that's how you listen, you've got whiskers, sonar, there's lots of ways to listen. Some people listen by shutting their face. I just saved you a marriage therapy copay on that one. If you can listen to them as if they know something, which just, if you break that down, of course they know something, but that's not how we listen. Right? We don't listen as if they're an expert in anything, let alone to teach us something. But just for funsies, you're going to do that at this point. You're going to listen to them. You're going to check out their body posture. If it's an email or something, how is communication from them? Now, I always get asked this question, what if you're wrong? If you're listening to them and you're interpreting these things, what if you're wrong? I'm never wrong about the judgments and assumptions I make about human beings, right? You aren't either. Nailed it, never been surprised, never been shocked by any judgment or assumption. This is a foreign concept. Why would you suddenly care now if you are accurate or not in the judgments and assumptions that you make, that you're interpreting from the person that you're trying to increase connection? Just relax. You're going to screw it up, but you're going to do it anyway, okay? Listen to them as if they're wise, interpret that information. Now, do you get to speak? No! Now, you are going to figure out, what are you going to say? Why are we doing this? What are you trying to communicate? You're going to form a message around, write this down, your intended meaning. Meaning, what are you doing here? What are you trying to do? What is your intention? You're going to form your message around the clarity of this intention. Do you see now why you're not starting with Dick Cheney? Start with a squawky box. But you need to be clear on what your intention is. 99% of the consulting work, here I'm gonna save y'all money. Y'all can all go back to where you work and be like, I got many dollars saved today. Are you ready? People bring me in as a consultant because 99% of the time they were not clear on their intentions. And they were gifted with feedback. And that feedback was that what you did was racist, insensitive, awful, old school, inappropriate, something like that. And their response usually is, oh, I didn't mean it that way. Have any of you done the turkey thing? But that's not what I meant. Okay, what did you mean? That's my personal favorite question in the middle of an argument. Oh, okay, what did you mean? Well, I just don't even want to have this conversation anymore. That is Texan for I'm not sure. I was talking outside of my skull, and then you surprised me by holding me accountable to the words that came out of my face. We are rarely clear on our intentions. We just throw messages around and hope it works out. So that's not what we're going to do now, because our goal is to increase the amount of connection, which means you are actually going to pay attention to yourself. Yay, we're all narcissists. Nailed that one. You're going to pay attention to yourself and try to figure out what is the intended meaning that I am trying to send out to this person because I want to better connect in the world, not win. Those of you right now figuring out your intention to tell your draft inbox them person, it's not winning. What's your intention? You're going to make a Twinkie. Yay for Twinkies. Form your message around that intention, right? Connection, conversation, shut up, listen, observe, modify and adjust. What's your intention? How are you going to form the message based on the information that you have gleaned, all the judgments and assumptions you have written about all the information that you have gleaned, and then release the Kraken. That is when you get to talk. That is when you get to hit send. Right? It's out of your face. But if you are clear on the intention, if it lands incongruently, you're at least clear on what you meant. So then you're going to be like, oh, interesting interpretation. Okay. As a stand-up comic, I intentionally tell jokes that have a curveball at the end of them. The most not funny thing to do is to talk to a comic about being funny. Because it's an art, which is also a science, that very few people want to talk about. But my job as a comic is to tell you this with a curveball that's unexpected. You're welcome. I ruined every funny thing again. You will now watch it and be like, oh, that was that curveball thing. You'll remember that, but not me. It's fine. Again, I have a therapist. The reason why this is important is that the feedback that you get, that it is incongruent, sometimes works in your favor because you can learn from it. Sometimes it's the same thing. You told that joke before, they didn't like it then, you just tried it again and it still didn't work. You have to reclaim the responsibility for that, how it landed. I am not a parent. You're welcome. But I understand from parenting stories that parents often try to say something to their child. Usually it's with some psychic teamwork with the maybe co-parent or other person, and you get to pretend that you're on the same page and you know exactly what's going on. And then, at least with my friends, there's sometimes secret meetings in the pantry to be like, why did you say that? Okay? This is my understanding of parenting. If a parent is trying to discipline their child and their child takes it as good news, the parent often is like, well, that didn't work. Right? There's like a humility there that's involved. But if the same parent says something and it's supposed to be punitive in some way, but it's with a grown-up, and the grown-up's like, yeah, nice job. You're like, ugh, that guy's a douchebag. Right? You just write them off. Context matters. The reason why this is relevant is that when you are communicating, whether you have done it once or done it many times, the context matters. And if it lands congruently, you can be responsible for that. You told a joke, somebody found it funny, score. You said something punitive, they took it in a negative way, score. But most of our conversations do not go that way. If we take stand-up comedy, I can tell jokes that I couldn't tell in this setting. Because in this setting, you didn't pay an incredibly high door price to sit in a room with low lighting that you hope the lights will never come on because you don't want to know what the carpet looks like, on a wobbly high table to drink very weak beverages you are required to drink. That context, I can get away with a lot. This context is like a professional situation, right? I am a professional comic. Help! What does that mean? You have to be able to figure out how to navigate when it lands incongruently. Either way, you are 100% responsible. Now, if any of you have ever been to any kind of couples therapy, you're going to be like, actually, I think you mean 50%. And if we want to be inclusive of like non-monogamous or polyamorous relationships, most people enter into those relationships so that they're at least down to 33%. I don't know. Okay, what if you were 100% responsible? Just what if? Remember, the goal here is not to be right or do math. The goal is to increase better connections, to make better connections. If you're 100% responsible, slow your roll. Be clear on that intention and how you form that message. Because I'm saying when you're practicing this, you're 100% responsible for what happens. Notice as I'm going through this that you're like, I'm not doing this with that person. Nope, skipping that person. Let's go back to the squawky box. Maybe she was right. I've never thought about it, but I'm not doing this with real people I ever have to talk to again. It's fine. Practice. You're going to claim responsibility. Then you're going to decide what just happened here. What's the meaning of this interaction that was supposed to not be transactional? It's supposed to be increasing and making better connections. So what meaning do you make out of it? Again, someone's usually like, what if I'm not right? Who cares? You don't even care about other people's opinions most of the time. Just what meaning are you making, and then run with it. And then ask yourself, did this increase the amount of connection in the world? Sometimes it's going to be no. Sometimes it's going to be uncertain. Ask again later. For those of you that remember the 8-ball, it's how I make all business decisions because I'm self-employed. And the dogs just say yes, that gets expensive. And then you're going to repeat. You're going to try again. So I have an example for you to walk you through this process because that's it. Seems maybe simple, but there's probably some body part puckering at the idea of working through that entire flowchart with the right person or the right topic or about the right subject, and you're just like, hard pass. All right, don't start there. Start at something that's a little bit more accessible because you need to practice. I wrote the book on it, and I need to practice. You're not guaranteed a conversation partner, and this is something that is imperative, and the measurement of you doing it right is doing the best you can with what you got some of the time. So chill out. I'm saying this to a room full of like what seem to be very type A people. Okay? I gave you a handout. What else do you want? I recommend printing out this handout and putting it by your computer. I want you to think about text messaging or things that you say on social media or things that you don't say in these arenas. You don't have to go to the Olympics. You can just start by putting the dog leash on. Does that make sense? Okay, so before I give you the example where I'm going to walk you through all the little steps, because some of you are like, this doesn't make any sense. What's happening? I've been here all day. It's kind of getting wet. Okay, so before I give you the example, are there any comments, questions, thoughts, comments? I already said that one. And I gave the texting number. Let's see if I got any texts. Probably not, because y'all are all being very polite, and you're like, I don't know if I should text. Okay, let's see. What? Oh, good. Okay. I am very concerned about your watching Fox News 24/7 and what has happened to you. You were a mentor to me, so smart. Now you're just angry.
My dad.
Oh, is this from you? Oh, okay, good. I was like, how do you know what news station I watch? I know we stayed in the same hotel, but that shit got creepy right there. I was like, 347, is that CK? What's happening? I had MSNBC on last night. I was doing homework. I was a good girl. I didn't even meet you at the Cheesecake Factory. Your father. Got it. What a great example of all. I had an entire conversation when I received that text message, right? And I was like, what? Right? Like, I'm like, what is going on? Okay. Fun facts. That would be the person you should be having this conversation with, right? Is that what you're telling me?
We have a good relationship.
I mean, I've been blocked by the remaining family members. Great. So they're choosing to spend these years in the way that you are interpreting to be angry. Notice this copay. This is like 7th copay today. That's called differentiation, because their shit's their shit, your shit's your shit. Yeah, it's very easy to say this not in the middle of an argument. Right. Yeah. But again, notice, so I don't want to get too derailed on this, but like you're noticing that how he's doing what he's doing, you're interpreting it as anger. Anger and passion look very similar. Excitement look very, these are all in the same emotional column on the handout that my therapist gave me. So I have to decide, am I energetic? Am I passionate? Am I excited? Am I angry? I don't know. It's code red. That's all I know. Okay? This is progress. I had to do colors. Okay. Are there questions specifically about any part of the chart that you're like, I don't understand what's going on? I notice I don't have PowerPoint slides. So thoughts, comments about any of the steps? You don't even have to use the right words. I remember what they were. Easy? You just nailed this? Are you all so dumbfounded that you don't even know how to ask a question? Is that what's happening? Do you have to pee? That's the other option. Okay, go ahead. I'm coming to you so people can hear. And I'm wearing lady shoes all day. It's like Nathan Lane on the birdcage. Do you remember that part? Okay, go ahead.
I've been studying this too, because similar, like the anger and stuff, perceived. And so it is like perceptions and core beliefs. And when my core beliefs are challenged by people close to me, those conversations are really hard because I perceive them one way, this person I'm close to, and then they're saying something different that's challenging my core beliefs, and the feelings get to be a lot. So having conversations like this that to me is what makes it really challenging.
Sure.
So I've read about it and I still want to have these conversations, but having them is scary.
Yeah. So, couple things. First off, stuffing your feelings way down is how Gen Xers look good, because we have not aged because we do not feel. Okay? I'd recommend it if you're interested in good skin. 1, you seem to be like wanting to feel. Do not recommend, but okay. So here's my challenge to you. And not just to you, you're just the one brave enough to say it out loud, okay? What makes these conversations challenging, from my perspective, is that at the root of it, they're so wrong that I don't even want to win. They just need to know how much they're losing. Oddly, not perceived as an invitation. Right? So let's do a little self-disclosure. So I have been unfriended by my sister-in-law, who was the human that gave me hope about how my brother's going to turn out. I have been unfriended by my sister-in-law because I had the audacity of being vaccinated. And by becoming vaccinated, there are microchips now in my body that are attached through my Facebook page and her Facebook page, and they're monitoring her religious beliefs. Okay, so let's pretend I'm not this woman's sister-in-law for just a second, right? Like, look, I'm an expert. What? Can't say that. That's not productive. So here's what I would say. Well, I don't have to look at those memes anymore. You know what the memes I'm talking about, right? Yeah. I don't want someone to engage with me because they think that there's some magnetism going through the inter and outer webs related to a vaccine that I took. I don't want to make anybody that uncomfortable. Perhaps this was a wise choice. Do I cry about it because I didn't even remember that my nephew graduated from high school because of like time? My nephew is permanently 16, evidently. Who knew? My brother and my parents died when we were really young. I raised my brother. By the time he became 40, I decided that that was good enough, and he's a free agent. I don't know, maybe I should have stuck around for a couple more years, but like, launch already. He's married, he has children, right? Like, according to books, he's more grown up than I am. And here we are. I don't know how to fix it. I can make meaning about it. Most of the meaning I make about it makes me sound very smart. And most of the meaning I make about it from their perspective makes them sound very dumb. And then I struggle because I love someone so much I don't want them to be dumb to me. Okay, so I want to make a better connection. What am I going to do? I am following their lead, full of sadness, but I am following their lead. That's where I'm at. That would be my solution to this situation. Okay, any other questions about steps or what I was talking about? Did any of them just instantly rub you the wrong way? Usually this is super extroverts who have to wait 4 steps to talk. No? Y'all are good with that? Yep, here I'm coming to you. Oh, there's 4 hands. Look at this. Lady shoes. Okay, go ahead.
I am struggling with claim responsibility.
Awesome. Okay, can I put a pin in that?
No.
You were one of the handshakers. I used to like you. Okay, but yes, the responsibility is very hard. So then the beginning of it just is, what if you are 100% responsible? What if? Would it change how you talk? Yes. Depending on who it is, right? Like, if it's somebody that I know I'm never going to see again, I will be charming and funny and whatever I need to do unless I'm in a hurry. Okay, well, those 3 out of 10 times when I'm in a hurry, can I remind myself, I am 100% responsible for what's about to happen right now. And I can be like, shut up, you are on a day off. They don't even know you wrote a book about it. Shut up, right? I can do that, right? I have medication that I don't take, duh. But what if you were 100% responsible? The habit is just making that assumption about yourself. Are there people where you're like, hard pass? We're talking like less than 10%. Great, don't talk to them. Why would you want to engage with someone that you are barely willing to be 10% responsible for what happens? Right? Okay, struggle's real. Yes?
So when you plan your message, you form your message, you plan, and then it goes awry in the conversation, do you talk about that? How to recover?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so also rooted to that one is how do we recruit or recover is, doesn't seem like I'm winning. Yeah, so it's not about winning. That's how you do it. You just go.
What if my message isn't being received the way so that means I'm winning if I want it to be.
So the words are, but what if the message isn't being received the way I want it to be received? I'm taking my shoes off because it's the back table. No one's going to notice. And I got a pedicure, people. Okay, in California, that's like high risk tokens involved with. Yeah, you're trying to win. That's the answer. Yeah. Okay, there was one over here. Polka dots. Oh, coming to you next, polka dots. Okay, go ahead.
Hi. You hold it. Could you please clarify step 3? So listening to them as if they're wise, as if they know something. So this is before you figure out what you're trying to communicate. So is this you just observing them as a human in existence and like how they interact in life? Like what are we listening?
I feel like you just answered your own question. Should you listen to them as if they're a human? Excellent place to start. I mean, that's an excellent place to start. Next place is like the cumulative listening. So let me put it to you this way in like a pantomime. So have you ever, let me back up. Do you remember entering buildings? Yes. Great. Okay, have you ever entered a building and you're like, I got to talk to this person about something, and you like roll up to their door frame and you're like, we'll do this later. Have you ever done that? Okay, you did not engage with them. You did not have a formal listening process that involved a handout. But you went later. That's listening to them as if they know something about this particular engagement that's about to happen, and you're like, hard pass, right? Or you have to do it, so then you like quickly change the font.
Okay, so this is just observing the person.
Right. Because you're about to like release the Kraken. Where is it going to land? That's how you can get clear on your intention, because you're going to form a message having some possibly totally wrong assumption about how it's going to land, and then you form it. Cool? You're welcome. But start with listen to them as if they're human. Nailed it. Okay.
Well, my question is, I know you said we're not guaranteed a conversation partner.
That was hard. That was very hard for you to say. Say it again, because I think it's good. Go ahead.
We're not guaranteed a conversation partner.
Truth.
But this is a conversation that you need to have. It really matters. If you realize this person is not going to engage, at what point do you walk away and let it go?
Super good question. Okay, so can you play with me? Who does the conversation matter to? Say it louder for the people. Go ahead.
Me.
So the conversation matters to you. Why do you need a partner then?
So what? I just resolve it in myself and say they're an idiot and
I've been working on 8th grade. I've resolved that 1,000 times. Do you really need a partner?
I do.
No, you need a partner so you feel like you win. Yeah, because in order for you to win, there has to be a loser. You can't win by yourself. What is that? That doesn't make any sense. All right, sorry. What is, like, you can't win by yourself. Because you need a witness to be like, did you see me read you? I won that. That you need a partner for. Go to a drag show. Work it out there. But if you're talking to, like, the person bagging your groceries, they didn't sign up to have a conversation with you that day. They're trying to live their life. Lady, go along. Right? But it really matters to you. Great. Go to your car and work it out. Right? Until you know you don't need a partner. Because what ultimately happens, so if we're in winning stage, I see this, I still see responsibility. When you are genuinely curious, there's nothing to win because you don't know the answer. Having a conversation that matters to you, that you are secretly trying to win, that you're going to try to convince yourself, oh no, this isn't about winning. You're not curious because you've already replayed what's going to happen, so you need a B to fill in that script. They weren't there when you wrote the script. You have nailed this entire conversation by yourself. But genuine curiosity, you have no idea what's going to happen on the next line. Because it's not about winning, it's about connection. Reminder, say it with me, do you do this 100% of the time? What about all people? No. But you're supposed to listen to them as if you're humans. What if I listen to all humans all the time as if all humans are humans? Can I do it then? No, I am preoccupied. I just learned of some fancy dress that is on sale at Marshall's that I just remembered right now in my head, like, oh yeah, I gotta buy that blue dress at Marshall's. I am in the middle of a keynote. There are 2 cameras talking to me, and I'm like, you gotta buy that dress at Marshall's. I don't have time to do a real conversation that matters 100% of the time.
Is it a wrap dress?
No, it's one of these like handkerchief bottom situations. I can't wear wrap dresses.
Okay.
We'll discuss this later, but I'm not a friend of the girls. Yeah. Resolution, totally different chapter. Yeah, and most resolution is from you anyway. Because, like, people are dead that I am still trying to get resolution from, right? And I convince myself, oh, I won that one. They're dead. They're not actually there. I'm just still replaying transcripts. Reconciliation, which is different than resolution, reconciliation is working with the resources you have in front of you to try to learn from past mistakes when you weren't responsible for them in the first place. Right? That's reconciliation. That is hard work. I'm just trying to get you to park in a different parking spot. Right? Like that, depending on what kind of, I'm talking about like a neighbor or something, right? Like, but ultimately at the base of reconciliation is curiosity, generosity. There's a sense of vulnerability here that's not connected to winning. And when we say authentic in like this Instagram font kind of way, but what authenticity really means is I have no idea where this is going and I have nowhere else to be. Can you do that 100% of the time? I don't even think like religious figures have nailed that, right? There are a lot of really smart people that can't do that. But it is something for you to think about, and if you root it in occasionally being 100% responsible, then you now have a reason to be doing it without a partner. Okay, go ahead.
So mine is about apologies. So if you have an apology and someone doesn't want to hear the apology, is it still about like trying to resolve it myself?
Okay, so there's a question. Why are you apologizing to someone who does not want to hear your apology?
Because they're angry with me.
So they're angry at you, so you're apologizing to fix their anger, but they don't want to fix their anger.
They don't want to fix the relationship.
Uh-huh. Okay, have you seen My Best Friend's Wedding?
Maybe a long time ago.
Great. Well, this should be on replay. What is wrong with you? Okay, so to summarize the movie for people who have not seen this, there is a moment in the movie where Julia Roberts steals a bread truck and is chasing after the love of her life. Who is chasing who? He's not that into you. It's a different movie, but still. Okay, so you are trying to apologize to someone because you want to repair the relationship. But they don't want you to apologize because they're angry and seemingly have given you successfully the message that they are not interested in repairing that relationship. How's that bread truck?
What if it's like a parent or a child?
Yeah, so chosen family gets really tricky, and I was a ceramics major, so I don't know you'd come to me for family therapy advice. They also all died when I was 19, so like my objectives are a little weird, right? Like, thanks, Mom and Dad. But honestly, they did a pretty good job for only 19 years, don't you think? I turned out okay. Yeah, I mean, minus all the addiction issues and all this. I mean, they said, don't look at my credit report. 3, 2, 1, back to you. I have no idea. This is actually like just a flow chart that I made up one day. And it's page 192 is a handout. It's a PDF. It's very formal. Yeah, I don't know. There are some people that you want to, I would like to repair a relationship with my father and he's been dead for forever. Here's a fun fact. Don't say this out loud. This isn't being recorded. Of course it's being recorded. Do I want to do I want to repair the relationship with my brother? In order to do that, I'm going to have to figure out how to repair my relationship with my sister-in-law. I just got booked up. But if I want to repair my relationship with my brother, I'm going to have to figure out how to repair my relationship with my sister-in-law. Do I want to do that? Frankly, not as much. I mean, I didn't pick her, right? When they met on a tennis court, and the wedding was the first weekend of one of my jobs, and I was like, I can't make it. Can I just go to the next one? Meaning the next wedding. She's not real high up on my list of things to repair. Am I a jerk? Absolutely. Does that mean I'm not going to be a part of like my niece and nephew's life? So the only way that I am currently part of my niece and nephew's life is when I am actually stalking them on Facebook that I can no longer do because I've been blocked. How much of a, they are a part of my life. I don't think I'm a part of their life. I am making them be a part of my life by being disappointed in how they are being a part of my life. When they have sent very clear messages, they don't want to be a part of my life. Okay, so it is technically 40 minutes. That's when the chart says that I'm supposed to shut up. I would like to tell you the example. Can I have 5 minutes? Is that good? Okay, great. Well, technically, y'all aren't in charge of the event. You're just attending the event. So I'm like, can I have 5 minutes? Okay, I got a thumbs up. Okay. I want to give you this example because the part that most people get hung up on is the responsibility part. Then they get hung up on trying to win. And then it's the, what does she mean, conversation partner? The reason why is that you can blame not winning on your conversation partner, and then you don't have to be responsible. So I'm removing those 3 variables. I'm going to tell you a story. What I would like for you to do, especially those of you that have already bought a book that are $10 and 50% is going to Dress for Success. Those of you on the live stream, please feel free to go to goodenoughNowBook.com. Buy the paperback, the audio, or the ebook. You're welcome. Now, if you have a book, page 192, share with a friend. I would like for you to call out what number you are at or what step we're in. You don't have to use the exact words, but that makes it fun for me. And again, narcissist, right? So that would be fun for me. In order to tell this story, I need you to know 2 things because it's relevant and you're going to ask questions and I have no time now, so I want to make sure I tell the story. 1, I have an aunt named Sylvia. She died in a house fire. She was my favorite aunt, but you need to know that. Number 2, I have a thing for flamingos. This is relevant. Okay? Handled? Good. Okay, here's the express version of said story. My friend Sylvie and I have an agreement in our friendship that every time we see a naturally occurring thing that has a flamingo on it, we take a picture and we text it to each other. Why? I have no idea. Just roll with it, okay? We've been friends for like 20 years. No words, just pictures of randomly occurring flamingos in nature. They can be stickers, pencils, actual things. Okay, so I am somewhere and someone text messages me a picture of baby flamingos because I told them this story, which means I have to copy it and forward it on to Sylvie so she knows that I've told this story. Okay, so I get a text back on my phone and it says, I think you have the wrong phone number. So that is an unusual response from Sylvie. So I look closely at my phone and it is from Sylvia. And I'm like, who the hell's Sylvia? Fat thumbs, I texted the wrong person. That's my beloved aunt. I totally forgot her phone number was even in my cell phone. I love Aunt Sylvia so much. The best thing about her dying in a house fire, that's when you talk about dark humor, okay? The best thing of her dying, she was so nervous about the neighbors judging her house upon her death. Do it that way, Sylvia. Burn the house to the ground. Nobody knows nothing, and everybody's like, she was smoking in bed. Oh, that's probably true. Right, okay. So I get this text message back from Sylvia. I am awash with how much I loved this woman. And I'm like, oh, page 192. I am going to use this moment to make a better connection in the entire world. Here I go. Okay, how am I going to do this? I'm going to text this person back. Who is this person? I have no idea, but they obviously have my aunt's recycled cell phone number. Why am I doing this? I want to increase the connection in the world. I want to tell them how lucky they are to have my amazing aunt's cell phone number. And also, thank God it was just a picture of baby flamingos. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So, listen to them as if they're wise. I'm playing along. We're now on step 3. Okay, so I'm going to list them as wise. Now, when we look at texts, the text had punctuation, uppercase, lowercase. There was no all caps. It was just one bubble informing me that I had the wrong number. Okay, how do I interpret this? They are not angry. They're not like, who dis, or something like that. And for some reason, they wanted to engage with me because they texted back. That is my judgments and assumptions. Am I right? Who knows? But that is what the story I am writing. So my intention is to tell them how lucky they are and how much I love my aunt. So I have to figure out how to form this message. So there are 2 kinds of texters in the world. I'm assuming you know this. There are the TED talkers in one bubble that you have to constantly change the reaction to the bubble as you read the TED talk. And then there's me. It's like thought. If ADHD could text, well, that would be me on my cell phone. Okay, so I am that person. I'm like, okay, we are not going to blow up this person's phone. I'm going to set a boundary. One bubble. It's a very high pressure stakes situation. So my intention is to spread joy, make better connection. I'm going to choose to do it through this text message. I've listened to them. It is not all caps. I've written a story that this is somehow welcome. I have limited my response. I have formed a message with the intention of doing that by doing one text bubble. That is it. That's all I'm going to do. So, pressure on, sweaty. Text one bubble. And I just say, I just want you to know how lucky you are that you have my aunt's recycled cell phone number. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world, and I just hope that makes you happy. Release the Kraken. I send the message. Now, this is not guaranteed Hallmark movie. I may not get a response back. I may get an all caps, stop blowing up my phone, right? Like, I'm prepared for this because I am what? Say it with me. 100% responsible for the text message that I sent out. See how that works? Okay. So, it is kind of a Hallmark movie. I mean, we didn't open a maple syrup factory together, but they did text message me back. They text messaged back with, interestingly, I get this message a lot. Your aunt evidently was an incredible woman because anytime anybody text messages the wrong number, I get to have this kind of conversation. So I now will text message my aunt, who is still alive, and tell her how important she is to me. Oh, dear. And then they send me a flamingo picture. Don't touch me, but you can text message a GIF. Come on, love language. Or a TikTok. I'll take TikToks. Anyway, I never heard from the person again. I made meaning from their response that I done good. Am I right? I don't know. But then they talked to their aunt. I clearly increased joy. I increased the amount of connection. And I was not guaranteed a conversation partner. And because it worked, I'm super excited to be 100% responsible for it. Practice. You are not guaranteed a conversation partner. This is a beginning step to resolution and reconciliation and repairing relationships and feeling right. All of your questions are about how do I get somebody else to do this? You can't. If you could, you would have made them do it by now because you're really smart and you're obviously deeply invested, and that hasn't worked. So keep trying that and buy my book, or try something different and buy my book. Do you see how that works? The mantra is to do the best you can with what you got some of the time. That is good enough now. Thank you very much.